What's up, guys? We are back for another SH Figuarts Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z review. We're taking a look today at Master Roshi, or as he is known on the package, KAME SENNIN. So we've got him here in our standard current Figuarts packaging for the line. We've got him in the window. We've got product shots here on the side, and then the back has a bunch of product shots showing you the big spread of accessories and all the different things you can do with this crazy old dude. So let's pull him out and take a look. Alright guys, here he is out of the package, Master Roshi himself, a very long-awaited character, at least as far as I'm concerned. He is quintessential to Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, so he has finally gotten his due in the Figuarts line. Of course, this is in the subline of the Dragon Ball figures, so he doesn't necessarily scale with everything correctly, but I am nonetheless very excited to get him, and after watching this review, if you still need to pick one up for yourself, you can still snag him on Big Bad Toy Store. As usual, I will put a link down below. So let's kick things right off as usual and take a look at Articulation. So as far as moving this guy around, there is some standard stuff going on here, and then some stuff that's just a little different because of the fact that he is, well, he's a new character. We've never gotten this particular body type, and he is just different in a certain few ways that make his articulation stand out from some of the other figures. The head is pretty normal. You can rotate it around, up and down. He would be able to go down further if he didn't have the beard, but he does, so we've got that to contend with. The head can bobble, but in general, you do have a lot of range of motion in terms of the head and how you want to pose him. Arms go out, they swivel all the way around. We do have a bicep swivel. He's got these pretty big elbow joints, and you get a decent range of motion. It's roughly 90 degrees, but his arms are such that they get wider as they go down, so the arm and the joint itself has to kind of accommodate that, which is why you have this. It's kind of unsightly. I'm not going to say it looks pretty, but it does work. The hands are recessed into the cuffs, so you have to contend with that, but they still move around just fine. I haven't really had any issues with that. It's just something to note. Now, he is not in his quote-unquote out-of-box configuration. I've got the shell on him, and I'm going to take it off just to talk about articulation further, because it's not part of him in terms of the figure. You have to put it on. It is articulated in the sense that it can move a little bit, but it's got these straps that you have to put on, and then it's actually pegged into the back of the figure. So you pop those out, and then you can pull it off. So it's got this little peg that you pop in, and it moves around. It affords a little bit of motion, but not much. If anything, it does hinder him more than you probably want. So he does have a diaphragm swivel. He can go down a little bit, and he can go up, but there is some pretty severe gapping in terms of moving him back too far. So that's not necessarily pretty. And then you can do a little bit of twisting there, and then you can twist him at the waist, obviously. The legs go out, you know, about as far as you would expect a Dragon Ball Figuarts to go. Kick forward, you can rotate up in there, kick back. This part down here is rubbery, so it helps with the motion. You've got standard Figuarts knee for the most part, pretty good range of motion. It's not too ugly. It's kind of smooth. It's not incredibly plated in there, so that works all right. And then we do have the standard Figuarts ankle, so you can roll them all the way around, swivel, hinge, and then of course we do have toe articulation, as is the norm with pretty much every figure in the line. So depending on how you've got him, he may or may not be, you know, as articulated as you want. Some things are a little bit hindered just because of his sculpt, and then if you throw that shell on his back, things will get a little bit encumbered just because, you know, it's a big turtle shell on the guy's back. Now, as far as the overall look and feel on Master Roshi here, I am pretty happy with him. There is one area that, and you may have already assumed what it is, that I'm not necessarily happy with, but overall I do think he looks very much like his anime counterpart. The big thing that, of course, I'm going to talk about is shading, or the lack thereof, because he doesn't really have any. And we're in that weird thing with Figuarts now where it's either feast or famine when it comes to paint shading, and this guy is very much starving for it. So he does have his orange tunic, and he's got the, you know, the white down the center and on the cuffs, and it looks fine. The colors are great. They're very saturated. They look good. We've got the kind of navy-ish blue type pants, and then we've got the even darker blue boots. And overall, I mean, I do think he looks fine, but there's no situation where I want zero shading. I would love to have at least some. And what's interesting is that, and I'm going to pull it in, we'll talk about it more when I discuss accessories, is that the shell has a ton of shading on it. It is shaded everywhere except in the center because this piece actually pops out. So all of the shading budget for this figure, I guess, went into the backpack. So yeah, I'd rather have had it on the figure itself. The head sculpt I think is pretty solid. I do like the beard. It is nicely textured. He's got his kind of lazy expression on this particular face. We do have another one to talk about. And then we've got the bushy eyebrows, but he's, you know, he's a bald head, so there's not a great deal that's going to go on there. There's no paint on it. It's just, you know, flesh tone plastic. We do have some paint in the ears to give it a bit of a shadow, which does look really nice. I do in general like the way he looks. You know, there's always just that thing where I would love to have some shading in there just to give me a little bit more. But yeah, we're not going to get it on this figure, so we'll probably get it in spades in a different one coming soon. And before we move on to accessories, here is a real quick size comparison just to give me an idea of how he scales to Kid Goku from the Dragon Ball subline, the only other figure so far, and Goku. This is the most recent Goku that we got, the Saiyan Raised on Earth version in the DBZ line. So you can see that there is an odd scale going on here. We already knew that Kid Goku doesn't really scale with the Dragon Ball Z Figuarts, and it's obvious that none of these really go together perfectly. I think Roshi's not too bad, but he's, you know, still a little too big. But I still don't even think he really scales all that well with Kid Goku here. So, you know, your mileage may vary on whether this bothers you. It really doesn't bother me at all. I'm just happy to finally have the old guy, and I think any smaller he would have probably not looked all that great. He doesn't necessarily need to be any bigger unless we're going to get the big buff meaty Master Roshi, which honestly I would absolutely kill to have one of those too. So who knows, maybe we'll get that down the road. So let's take a look now at accessories. So this old guy comes with a bunch of accessories, maybe not as much as Kid Goku, but it's definitely top tier when it comes to just number of accessories. As you can see, I've put the shell back on him, and it's basically a backpack. So it has straps, and you peg those in 2 spots on each side in the inner areas of the shell, and the shell itself pegs into his back. If you don't want to use the shell, he does come with a piece to fill that void, basically. So there's a little orange guy in the box, and you can pop it in his back, and it looks like he just has nothing on. The shell itself, I think, is really nicely done. Like I mentioned, you know, pretty much all the shading budget for the figure went into this shell. And this piece right here in the center, you can pop it out. It's not as easily done as you might think. Took me a little doing it the first couple times, but it has a spot here for a Tamashii stand, and he does come with one. So if you wanted to have him hoisted in the air or something, you can peg a stand back in there. So I do like the shell. I think it's a fantastic touch. It's very Roshi-esque stuff, so I'm really happy with that. As you can see, I've put the sunglasses on him. These look fantastic. They don't need any real anything to make them sit. They just sit on his face, they sit on his nose, and they sit on his ears, and they don't fall off unless you really put them into a compromising pose. They're going to stay on there just fine. I'm really glad that there's no holes in the head or anything like that. They didn't need to make a second head entirely to give you sunglasses. They have nice metallic green paint on the lenses, and in general, I mean, that's a Roshi accessory if I've ever seen one. But he does come with a lot more stuff, and outside of other replaceable parts, we do have his staff, and it doesn't really have any shading on it either. It's just brown, kind of chocolate brown. He does come with hands to hold this, and then we have another Dragon Ball. So like with Kid Goku, we got one, and this one is the 3-star ball. So you've got 2 now up to this point, and they will sit in the Shenron base. If you take his little thing out of the base, you can put these in there as well. So I guess we're going to get a full 7 at some point, but we do have even more stuff to talk about here. This is a Figuarts release, so obviously there are extra heads, hands, faces, that whole deal to contend with here. And first of which, we do have an extra head. So this one has a bit of a different expression. His eyebrows are different. We can see the eyes are a little different, and he's got his mouth open. So you can kind of use this as a angry face, but also kind of Master Roshi's telltale lecherous face. I kind of wish we would have gotten another slightly more quote-unquote lewd face with this guy, just because that's a very Roshi thing, but I'm happy with this one. And you can actually swap the beards and the mouths, so you can pull this off, and you've got that creepy thing to deal with. But then you could use this beard on this head and this beard on this head if you want to switch things up a little bit more. Now, as far as hands go, we have got 10 extra hands this time around. We have got a flat palm hand, we have got a straight finger pointing hand, we've got a crooked finger pointing hand, we have got an open palm relaxed hand, we have got one, and this I find it kind of odd, one somewhat of a Kamehameha style hand. He doesn't have a true set of charging hands. We've got a peace sign, we have got 2 gripping hands, so you have either one for the staff, and then we have 2 hands for his kind of martial arts poses. So there is a lot of stuff here. My only real regret with this figure in general is that he doesn't have 2 charging style hands. I find that kind of odd, but overall I'm very, very satisfied with all the stuff here. There's a lot to contend with when it comes to opening this guy's package. You are just hit in the face with a bunch of accessories. So overall, I am happy with this Figuarts release. I really don't have any true complaints outside of the paint shading. I just wish that there was more consistency in this line with shading on figures. I wish they all had it. Basically, that's what it comes down to. Some figures have too much, some have just enough, some have not enough, and then some, like this figure, have none. And I'm not sure there's any real consistent reason as to why some get it and some don't. If there is, maybe I just haven't noticed it yet. Beyond that, though, I think this guy looks exactly like what I want a Master Roshi from Dragonball to look like. He comes with a ton of stuff, and my only real gripe with accessories is that he doesn't have two Kamehameha style hands. I really wish he had both. Other than that, though, I'm really happy with the spread of accessories. I'm really happy with the way he looks. He moves pretty well, and it's going to go alongside my Kid Goku and have a prominent place on my shelf, so I am very, very pleased overall. So that's going to do it for this look at the Bandai Tamashii Nation's Master Roshi SH Figuarts. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.